So Venice. Okay, first thing, public transportation. Public transportation in Italy, you unless you're a zone leader or an AP, you won't drive. And not even all zone leaders drive either. It's mostly the for long travels, and in some cities you'll use a lot of train. You'll be riding the train a lot. All your exchanges, which are called scambi in Italy, they'll all be done with train with other missionaries. In your cities, you will either end up doing two different things, one more than the other. It's either all bus. You'll every time you get to a new city, you will go to the public transportation office and get a what's it called? They're not called season passes. That's for like theme parks. They're like the passes, like the Trax Pass or anything here in Provo. As far as here in Provo, yeah, you'll get every month you'll renew because that's how you get to all your appointments. In some cities, you will not only have bus, but you will also have bikes. Most of my cities were bikes. Most Italians travel through bikes when you're actually in the city. Just because, like I said, Italy is built on this old Roman sort of like way of building that every city is supposed to be walkable because they didn't have cars back then. So, and you'll definitely see that because you'll be like, how do cars fit here? How are Italians? Oh, I guess that's probably the most impressive thing. Like, Italians are incredible drivers. They're so good. You're going to be getting on these ginormous, like, huge buses, and they're driving through the most intense traffic at super high speed, swerving and turning and like literally missing other cars by inches. Like, one time I just wanted to do an experiment. I stuck my hand out and it's easy. You can touch everything. It's so close. But you also have to be careful when you're walking in the streets because if they're coming behind you, you have to get on the wall to make sure. Sometimes like it feels like they're going to hit you, but they won't. Yeah, and as far as like other transportations, if you get to really big cities like Milan, Torino, you'll be hitting the subway system that's those big cities have built, or kind of like a tram system, which kind of like San Francisco, where you have like the trolleys that go through the railroad on the street sort of thing, except they're not really railroad things, but bigger cities have those. But most of your cities, you're just going to have bus and bike for the most part, as far as transportation. In Venice, the whole area is called Venezia. Well, I guess they call it the Friuli. That's what it's, the region. Italy is divided into different regions, would be kind of like our states. And in those states, you have a bunch of cities. Venice is definitely the most popular in this region. And a lot of cities are pretty similar. Transportation in Venice. So missionaries don't work in Venice. I mean, they work in Venice, but they don't live in Venice. So Venice is out. It's a city built on water. The actual land city that you live in is called Mestre. And unless you're well, that's where the zone leaders for that. Well, I can't say that because they change all the time. So that's what they used to be. And if you have investigators or if you have people you want to attract in Venice, which is usually kind of hard because it's very touristy, you'll have the same problems in Florence and Milan, Pisa, Leaning Tower of Pisa. That's in your mission, and some other famous places. We usually didn't do that much attracting there, just because it's so touristy at certain times of the year that it won't really matter that much because you'll end up getting people that don't live there, and the process of referral sometimes it's really more effective if you just actually find the people that are there. And so you'll definitely run into a lot of members though, and they'll buy you gelato or ice cream and stuff like that, which is always fun. But so Venice is, when you do go there though, and if you ever do have some work, there are some members that live there, so you'll have the opportunity of going there, eating dinner at their house, and you get to look out the window and then you just see water in all the streets, which is really amazing on the sunset and all this. You can get as cool as you can think, and that's it. You will forever be awed for like all the amazing things that you can find there. But it's what you think. You go to Venice, there's very tiny little streets like most Italian cities, but this was a little more artsy about it. They're called vicoli, little tiny streets. And you'll be walking there. All of a sudden, you'll come out, and it's just the main street, and it's water. The buses there are boats, so you get on these like public huge boats that just go all the way around. Of course, you see the gondolas. You see the men in the striped shirts and singing their Italian romantic songs of people that are on the gondolas, and it's definitely a magical city. It's definitely a city that you would want to go visit. And as far as work there and food there is amazing. Work there is a little harder, like I said, but doable. But mostly you'll be working in like the main city called Mestre. That's where most of your work you'll be done. You can definitely get a lot of bucket list things done there. If you're really on P Day, only on P Day, you can find you can recreate a lot of movie scenes. So if people have ever watched The Italian Job or Indiana Jones or oh gosh, there were some other ones. You can probably do the research. There are certain scenes that are done in a certain way, and we had a missionary. Oh, this is actually a memory that I forgot I had. We had a missionary who was way into the films, and he knew all the places in Venice where these movies took place. And what he did one P Day, he took us on this movie tour, and we went to every place where they shot one of these famous movies that we all loved, and we recreated the scene as if we were the characters. And it was just so fun to recreate these iconic movies, and actually be in Venice doing it. And I don't know, but you'll find so many other, like you'll find Leonardo da Vinci's artwork. You'll find a bunch of other artists. You'll find Burano, which is the famous glass making island. This whole island is just dedicated to making glass. And you can find this is like you have free people that are just making like these amazing glass like pieces of artwork, and there's just glass sticking out of everywhere. This is glass island. You'll have the masks, the Venetian masks, kind of like the whole little Phantom of the Opera sort of looking thing. And also, I guess there's another big thing. Every February, the whole city dresses in pretty much like Phantom of the Opera stuff. The whole city turns into this old Venetian sort of like Renaissance sort of thing. So like that morning, everyone comes out, the women in huge dresses and the men in like these fancy tuxes and everything, and other different costumes, jokers, like everyone with a mask. Everyone is wearing a mask. And the whole city turns, and several cities actually do this. There's a city still in that same area called Cividale. If you ever serve in Udine, you'll have the chance to go see that. But there's one day in the whole year, the whole city goes medieval. So like, people come out in like armor, or they come out with like rags as if they were like poor, like medieval sort of like people. They lay hay in the streets. There's horses. They go all out, the whole city. And several other cities, like I said, do different things like that. But yeah, I mean, as far as like experiences there, it'll be a handful, that's for sure. Yeah.